Hey friends, so it's happening. We are on the final part of my journey this year with the hobonichi cousin in rings. When I first debound this journal, I had a very clear idea of what it was that I wanted to do when it came to rebinding it. And I will link a video that I saw that I am going to be utilizing as a kind of like guide. But essentially, I wanted to put this back into a sort of lay flat binding by gluing the spine portion, and the idea was to re-add the cover that I originally had into them. um, I will be binding the vertical weeklies separately from the daily pages because the daily pages are very, very thick as it is just by itself. And I haven't even finished adding the October, November, and December ephemera. So as it is, it's going to be a thick book. And I kind of like the idea of having the vertical weeklies separate because that way it's not that big of a chonker. And also because that way I get to um, put some other things with the vertical weeklies, like the pages from the take a note and stuff like that. So that's something that I'm pretty clear on. My issue is though, um, like I mentioned, when I first kind of like debound the Hobonichi cousin, I was very clear on what I wanted to do um, in the rebinding part of it. However, at some point, I started having a lot of fun with different sized journals, like different size ring journals. And so I started adding tip-ins. And while tip-ins are amazing in this way, they can be a problem apparently when it comes to binding because you want to have your pages always be the same height. It's okay if they are a different width, but they should be the same height because that way, when you are kind of like shuffling your pages to make sure that everything is in alignment, the fact that there are pages with different heights makes it so that it can be a problem and they don't end up where they need to be. And so I have a lot of tip-ins in here. And because that could be a potential issue, I started looking up different things that I could potentially do to sort of mitigate this issue. Like, okay, if I don't do what I wanted to do originally with the binding because of the tip-ins, then what are my other options? And so some of the things that I considered was just getting like regular little like circle rings and binding it that way. Another thing that I considered as well was just kind of like getting a regular rings mechanism and kind of creating a cover for it so that it continues in rings. But all of the kind of like ring adjacent solutions didn't really call to me because one of the main reasons why I was really into this idea of debinding the cousin was because I knew that at the end of it, I was going to rebind it into a book. And so even though it's probably a little bit easier to do a ring mechanism, regardless of which way I go, I kind of really want to try binding it into a book system. So that's what this video is basically going to be, is me kind of toying around with different ideas and ultimately what it is that I decide and the process with which I end up doing that. It is not going to be a tutorial video. In fact, I don't 100% know if I'm going to even record the process itself, but I will be kind of like sharing different moments and tidbits of the process and kind of like where my headspace is at with that. It's kind of like a techo time, but it's going to be a little bit like an extended version of the techo time. I have to catch up on October and November pages, and of course December by the end of this month. October ephemera and images have already been printed. I just need to cut them. And actually, as I finish recording this intro, I'm going to go ahead and work on printing out all of the November pages. Today is December 3rd, and my plan is that I will be pretty consistent with printing out things every week in December so that I don't end up with a backlog for December. And by the time January comes around, this will pretty much be done. So that's the goal. My initial thought, now that I'm thinking about like, okay, I'm actually gonna bind this, is that I'm going to bind it in sections. So I'm gonna do it by quarter. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So it'll be February to March, April to June, July to September, and then October to December in like pre-bound signatures. That might make it a little bit easier for me to kind of like keep things in alignment. And then once that's done, I'll bind all of the signatures together. That's kind of the idea that I have. Another thing that I potentially considered to make sure that things kind of stuck together was to thread a little bit of um, a thread, if you will, through the holes and kind of tying them. They need to be loose enough where it won't affect the lay flat binding, but that could potentially assist me with getting everything aligned. I could also potentially just like tie them together and then glue them, the spine, so that it's together, and then cut the thread so that it doesn't become a hindrance. If there's any bookbinders watching this, let me know if that's something that sounds okay. Like I mentioned, I'm not a bookbinder by any means. And so of course this was maybe not the best idea to go for, but like one of the things that I've been thinking about as I'm going through this process of deciding how to archive this is, okay, do I want to do this again? Like it does become a little bit tedious at this point, right? At the end of it, of like, okay, what do I do? And tedious in just because I don't have an answer, right? Because also this is experimental. This is another way for me to interact with my pages, and I'm having fun with the process if I could just figure out what it is that I want to do. Like I think that the not knowing can be a little bit anxiety inducing, especially because so many of these pages are pages that I love so dearly. I don't think that anything that I'm going to do in this process will damage the pages though, so I'm not like 100% like just going crazy with it, but um what was I going with this? Oh, so like the bit of anxiety that it's causing me has made me kind of consider, okay, do I even want to do this with the Midori next year? Like, do I want to unbind it? And really, I can't see myself existing in my journals in this, like in this format and this kind of like medium any other way. I really love the freedom that the rings have given me to experiment. All of the digital ephemera, the ability to kind of like move back and forth, especially like in the beginning pages, which is interesting, right? Because some of my favorite pages in this journal are from like the first couple of months, and that's when the book was bound. So is there an argument to be made there? Possibly. Alternatively, though, the argument can be said that I was a bit more consistent in these pages in the beginning of the year than later, right? So been a lot more backlog towards the second part of the year than in the beginning. In the beginning, I was pretty consistent in being in the pages as it was, like every day. Well, maybe not every day, but at least every week. And so one of the things that I'm thinking about with 2026 is really making sure that I establish kind of like a weekly cadence with my journals to make sure that I'm touching them every week, and kind of like imbuing them with the bit of me. And so that is one of the things that I really want to make sure that I do. But I think that the reason why I feel like the first few pages of this are some of my favorite is just because I think that I was in it, right? Like this was more, I was more involved in them. They're more full in the sense that um in these like newer pages, I haven't even been able to go back and like add my words. They're mostly just like digital ephemera. It's much more commonplacey in nature in that sense because it's more of like a collection, but not as necessarily interactive. And so I think that that's one of the things that I'm kind of recognizing as well. But yeah, I'm kind of getting off into a different tangent. The point is that I do really want to, um, yeah, potentially do this. I also considered the idea of, instead of let me just bring this over here really quickly. Instead of debinding and putting it into rings right away, I even kind of considered just like journaling haphazardly in the pages instead of just like starting at the front, just kind of like going through the pages as I feel like it without a set order. I think that that would be really fun as well, and that would kind of make it, I don't know, dynamic in that sense. Um, Again, I haven't 100% decided what I'm gonna do. I did also consider, if I do debind it, that I'm gonna do the kind of like quarterly situation that I'm mentioning here. So every quarter I will archive by binding that signature together. Um, and that way I can potentially have a slimmer. I'm kind of eyeing an A5 Me Plus for that, a slimmer profile. But I haven't 100% decided. So this video is going to be whatever it decides to be, but it'll be around this kind of like archiving and finishing up backlogging in the cousin. So yeah, that's going to be it for this particular check-in. I will check back in with you during the next part of the video, whether that's me pasting images in or doing any of the archiving process. But yeah, I hope that you enjoy the ride, and we'll see where we end up with this beautiful, beautiful journal that I have grown to love so, so much. I really, really have. It's been such a joy. Yeah, I think April pages have been, I think, are my favorite. March pages and April pages are my favorite. And there's a possibility that that is because I really like the grid and colors. I think that that's also a possibility, that purple and red I really like. But yeah, I was just like more in it. I don't know. I'm like playing with more ink inside of the pages. There's more notes, like more of my handwriting is in here. Yeah, I just love. I love it. I do. This journal is really, really special in that sense. Um, it really feels like there's so much of me in here, while also not having any single like image of me. Like there's no image of me or my like real life in here. It's all like the digital media world. But there's like it's like I don't know. I find that to be even more interesting, right? Like what is a truer version of me, right? These pages or my joy journal, they're both me, but just different facets of me, I guess. I can't wait to like finish up the backlogging and kind of like interacting with the pages and seeing how this ends up. I'm pretty sure that the final flip of this is going to be ridiculously long, whatever that is, but it's going to be so much fun. Okay, yeah, that's it for now. As I'm waiting for them to cut, what I did was I got one of my um this is a nylon transparent. I think it's nylon. Yeah. 100% nylon transparent um thread, and I this is January through March. I went ahead and just threaded in between these two and these two the thread, and as you can see, I think I was a little bit too tight on this one. Um So there's a little bit of bunching here. I mean, potentially this could be an option that I do, but this still doesn't perfectly lay flat. So I don't particularly want to do that route. I am going to secure all of the binding that way though. And then at that point I will glue this section here and see how that works before I decide what next steps are. But I'm going to go ahead and do that for all the quarters, at least the ones that are already set up. I'm not going to do it for October through December because I'm still working on those pages, but I think that'll work. The only downside to what I just did here is that I completely forgot to take out this divider. So now it's stuck in there and I'm not going to be taking it out at this point. So yeah, this one was a little bit easier, I think, because there's only really one page where it's a different size. Let me look for it here. And yeah, I captured it just fine. So I just need to make sure that whatever pages there are, see how it's a little bit tighter here? I did it a little bit too tight. Um, I need to make sure that whatever pages they are, that they either connect in these two bottom ones or in these two, so that, you know, none, I mean, they should, but yeah, it's kind of like what we got going on so far in this process. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so that's the second round of them. And I think I did a little better with the tension in this one. I mean, that lays pretty flat, as is, right? But see, here's my concern, is the smaller pages. That's definitely one of my concerns when it comes to this kind of situation. If I were to bind it this way, obviously this is not the best way to bind it because eventually the tension of the the thread will cut into the pages. So this is just a temporary way for me to get them together. Um, oh my God, it's gonna be so exciting to have this in a book form. I'm so excited. Okay, so then those two are done, basically. There. And so yeah, the idea is that I will kind of just tab them, and I won't really have to worry about the vertical access necessarily because they're secured with the thread. And then once I'm done, I will cut the thread on them. In theory, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking so far. Okay. Let me get to the page that I just finished cutting. Okay, guys, this was July to September, and this one was the really scary one because this one definitely had pages that were smaller and that didn't necessarily go through all three. So you can see here, this one technically is free floating a little bit, but it is connected in there. So I'm not too worried as long as I can, do it this way. I think it will be fine. I think we'll be okay, hopefully. And then just not move it all that much. But it worked from what I can see. I'm curious about, I definitely have more wiggle room in this one for sure. And you can see it lays pretty flat. Okay, so this lays pretty flat, which is what I was concerned with. But like as you can see here, then it like struggles this way. I don't want that to be the case. Like I don't want it to just like free float there or then cause issues. That's one of my concerns. Oh, see, but then I was able to do that. Okay. Did this untie itself? Oh, it untied itself. Okay. See, this was my concern. Okay. Let's go back to the drawing board. It's okay. No one freak out. It'll be okay. Would it be a Chris video if we didn't have a slight issue? Who knows really? I mean, I would like to hope I can do that at some point. But I also just kind of like that because it just shows you that I mean, sometimes when you experiment, you open yourself up to things like this, or then you have to find solutions. And I do consider myself someone who's pretty good at that in like general life scenarios. So, yeah. Actually, we want to go this way and then this way. It's a little hard to do it with this thread too because since it's clear and very, very thin, um, it's kind of hard to see sometimes. Okay, so I was able to finish tying that knot. And basically what I just want to kind of look at is the pages that have little random bits. So I'm just going to go to those pages. Another thing that I had considered was doing like stab binding. I saw a video on that, but one of the reasons why I don't want to do that is because of these kind of like sections here where it would probably eat at the words, and I don't really want that. That's why I kind of would rather have the lay flat binding if at all possible. Okay, so that's there. I'm not gonna like super go into that because I don't want it to break. Okay, so that's good. That's good. Okay. Looks like this one's fine as well. Okay, so that's working well. Okay, so that's working as good as I expected it to. Now it's just a matter of me, okay, putting all of these together. And as you can see, that's what that would look like. Okay. I'm very excited. And then of course, um, we would have the front. And this is not the complete book because I still have, the last quarter to do, but I just wanted to show you kind of like what the idea would be. Right? Like it would go back into being a book format like that. Oh, here's the hoping, guys. Here's the hoping. But you can see how chunky that is, and that's still missing a quarter. That's already about the size of what like I'm pretty sure that's about the size of what the cousin would be. And this doesn't have any of the vertical weeklies, any of the monthlies, or the last quarter. So oh, that's exciting though. That's really, really exciting. Now I have to figure out where to put this so that it doesn't get hurt. Since I can't put it in my binder anymore because of how I have decided to bind it now. Okay. I'll figure that out. I'm gonna keep printing and cutting things, and then I'll touch base with you at another point in time. But I just wanted to check in with that specifically, and show you that that was kind of like what I'm gonna end up doing. Hi, hi. So originally, this video was gonna be one of those like, oh, this video doesn't end until I'm caught up and everything is archived and everything is ready to go. But I actually really wanted to just post what my progress has been so far and what I've been doing. Not just so that you guys could see it, but so that if you guys have any recommendations, you might be able to direct me someplace if you do, if this is something that you've done before, or if you know of different bookbinding methods. Look at Luffy. He's so precious. So please let me know what your thoughts are so far on what's been going on in this video lately. And I think I'll be posting another one where I actually go in and finish basically backlogging November and doing December as well. So that'll happen at some point. In this session, this was a late night session. I was not feeling well. I had a bit of a migraine and I have been a little bit down these past couple of days. I think that I take medication for chronic depression, and I think my depression has been hitting me a little bit hard these past few days. And so I had a pretty bad one. I had a pretty bad one the day that I recorded this, and I needed to get out of my head. I took some medication for the migraine, and so I sat down and decided, okay, I'm going to try and just fill in some of the pages, organize the ephemera that I had printed out. These are for the November, or for the October pages rather, and start doing that. And so I just did really low energy kind of things to try and get, I don't know, just out of my head. Yeah, sometimes that's what you need, right? Like when you're journaling, that's one of the purposes of journaling for me is to be more present and to be more aware of what my thought patterns are. And another one is just to be able to kind of get lost in the act of combining, creating memories, and all that stuff. Like that's just what it is. I was trying to show you guys something there, but I have no idea what that something would be. So my bad. Um, I'm starting off with just adding all of the character birthdays that I know I have fan art for. I am one of those obnoxious people that I don't celebrate real life birthdays. I've talked about this before. I don't celebrate real life birthdays, but I will collect fan art when these fictional characters that I like have birthdays. And so that first one was Uzui Tengen from Demon Slayer, and right now I am putting in the days or the fan art for Trafalgar Law from One Piece. And I just looked into my quotes to see if there was anything that I liked that maybe went with Trafalgar. So I went ahead and did that. Something in me needs or wants more. I cannot rest. And I feel like that works really well for his character and his arc. But I had a lot of fan art, and so I went in and added some to the monthly page, and I also added some to the weekly page. I made a mistake when I was cutting these images, and instead of doing die cut, I made them kiss cut, which is why I have this random, random 2 pages of images. This one was the last popularity poll for My Hero Academia came out in October, and once again, for I think the 10th year in a row, Bakugo Katsuki, our beloved, got first place. And so I was just doing, commemorating that. These are sections I've talked about before, how I don't often, with a magpie specifically, I try to have like a combination of the days don't matter and the days matter. And so because I knew that I had some character birthdays that I wanted the days to matter, and because I had some like media that I consumed that I wanted the days to matter, and because I had some ephemera where I wanted them to be on their specific day, I started with that first. And then afterwards, I will continue building into the ones where actually chronology doesn't matter. And so here I am adding Doflamingo's fan art for his birthday, which is October 23rd. And then I think next I'll move into what took me the longest time, the pages that I'm gonna do for Candyman. So I watched the original Candyman movie in October, and I got a few a few screen caps from it that I wanted to paste into a specific spread, and I was kind of struggling to figure it out. So I just played a good long while with kind of figuring out how I wanted to have these images set up. I do want to write some as well, and so I was keeping that in mind. I actually really like that format that I just did. I didn't go with that one, but that would have been a good option. And this one I did watch on the 30th, I want to say, but I had already glued something in on that one, and I wanted to have a standalone kind of specific spread for Candyman, so I went ahead and added them to the previous page. Even though I collected these particular images on November 3rd, as you can see in the timestamp. I think I kept the timestamp for the little images, and then later I do cut into the timestamps of the bigger ones. So yeah, I think that's all that I wanted to share with you guys for this particular voiceover. I think I'm gonna leave the music for the rest of it. We're almost done with this session. I'm really, really excited to get this bound up and caught up, and I will be posting a video for the end result, probably at the same time that I do the flip through. So I think that's what's probably going to come next for this particular journal. Although I think between here and then, there'll probably be a techo time. So yeah, we are not 100% done with this journal yet. Although I'm really excited to see what it's kind of like tentative final form will be, because I kind of have this idea with this particular journal where I might every so often kind of go in there and annotate it with the current me's notes. I don't know, I think that would be fun, so that it's not just like this memory keeper, which it is, but it's not just that, it's also my own personal book that I can annotate as time continues to go. It's like this living being within my ecosystem. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit abstract. Maybe that's a little bit too much, but anyways, thank you so much for watching as always. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave them down below. And if you have any suggestions, please let me know and direct me to any bookbinding information that you can that might help me in this process. But yeah, that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video.